Check. What's going on, y'all? It's Hilario Hernandez here. And this podcast episode is a little special because I myself am being interviewed by Brittany Mouttet. Brittany Mouttet is the host of the Ladies of Corpus Christi podcast. She has a series where she interviews friends of leading ladies of Corpus Christi, where she invites people that are friends of leading ladies of Corpus Christi. So she had me on and she interviewed me as a guest. It was awesome. So I'm just going to put that podcast and just slap it on this podcast so you can have a taste of what she does over there on her podcast, which she interviews leading ladies of Corpus Christi in the Coastal Bend area. Super awesome. 170 plus episodes at this time. So there's a lot of interviews, great interviews on there of leading ladies of Corpus Christi in the Coastal Bend, and also a part of the series which I was a part of, where it's not just ladies, it's different people, men, whatever, that are also being interviewed in those different series. So without further ado, enjoy this episode and hop on over to her channel. You can listen to this episode there as well, and you can continue to listen to her podcast over there as well. But without further ado, on this podcast, we're gonna enjoy the episode that we had where Brittany Mouttet interviewed myself.
Welcome to a very special episode of a little series that I started called Friends of Leading Ladies of Corpus Christi, where I bring on individuals who aren't necessarily ladies, but that I really admire and think are amazing. And so please give a warm welcome to Jesus Hilario Hernandez, who is the founder and host of Corpus Christi Originals podcast. You also have the Corpus Christi Originals clothing brand, which is amazing. And then you also do software development, which is really cool. You just have a ton going on. So thank you so much for being here with me.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me onto the show. Appreciate it.
Yes. Well, I mean, you really, you introduced yourself to me, and I'm so glad you did. And then whenever I saw that you had a podcast and you wanted to have me on, I was just absolutely flattered, because you're doing an amazing job. And for one podcast host to want to have another podcast host on is just like the greatest honor, because we're peers, you know what I mean? Yeah. So your platform is incredible, and I'm just so grateful for you, and I think your podcast is amazing, and I love everything about it. And so, but I feel like that's such a minor part of what it is you do. And so you even have a music background, like you went to school for it. So I mean, you're a really interesting individual, and it sounds like you kind of dabble in everything. I mean, computers to art. And so have you always kind of had that dual interest and kind of both sides of the spectrum?
Yeah, my brain is wired crazy. Like if something interests me, I'll go down that rabbit hole until it's like, okay, I need to get out of this rabbit hole and go back to the normal things that I need to do. Yeah, so that's kind of how my brain is. But yeah, it's been a long journey for me in music and all kinds of stuff. So yeah, that's just how my brain is,
Yeah, I mean, you're constantly doing something, because it's like, initially I just thought you had the brand. Then, once you kind of, dive into what it is you're actually up to, I mean, it's so much more than just a brand too, because it's, evolved into the podcast, and then you come to find, oh no, actually you have this kind of side hustle going on where you're helping people out with coding, like you have like C++ help videos on YouTube. Yeah. So, and I feel like that's it. So first of all, not everybody's musically inclined, and definitely not everybody is computer programming inclined. I mean, I'm not able to do either, but was music and, software development something that came naturally for you?
So whenever I do stuff, like I want to make sure that I do it well. So if I go down a rabbit hole doing something like computer programming, I want to make sure I do it well. So I would actually do it well. And then I find whenever I learn these things that I want to show people how to do it. You know what I mean?
I love that.
Have like the teacher kind of, I guess, mentalities. Whenever I learn stuff, I want to show people stuff. So that's why, when I started my YouTube channel, I started putting guitar videos because I wanted to, because I thought like, okay, when I was learning guitar, I didn't have this. So that's why I'm creating my YouTube channel. So that's why I started the guitar videos. And then I got into the software development videos because I was looking for a career change. I'm a truck driver. I've been truck driving since 2011. So I was like,
that's hard work.
Yeah, it's hard work. It's a lot of hours away from home, so I stay away from home. Recently, in the past 2 years, I've been able to be home more often. I guess it's the more I do it, the more experience I get, the more I'm able to kind of pick and choose. I can be home, stuff like that.
Excellent.
Yeah. So the software development, I got into that because I wanted a career change into something else, so that way I can be home more often. But I'm already home more often now, so it's like, okay, so I'm kind of making a little bit of money off the YouTube from doing those videos, and a lot of people were like, "Hey, thanks a lot for this, thanks a lot," and I was grateful for that because that's why I did it.
Yes.
And it was like, man, this is awesome. So I just decided to continue doing it. So that's where I did there. I'm into finances a lot. I go against the grain on a lot of financial advice to people here. So
love that. Tell me more.
Yeah, I go against the grain because so one of the things is like a lot of people think that you have to go into debt to be wealthy or whatever. I'm the opposite of that. I'm like, well, if you have debt, then you owe money to banks and stuff. You could be paying yourself that money, so that's just what I think. And
yes,
it's against the grain.
Yes. Oh, no, because everybody's so concerned with their credit score, right? Like, yeah, in order to get good credit, you have to, obviously take out credit and then pay it back. And that's the only way. And it's like, that's a fucked up system, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Because like you said, like ultimately you're giving these people your money that you borrowed because you didn't have it in the first place. Just wild. It's a wild system.
Yeah. And for me, it's like, I get crazy. Like I said, if I do something stupid, I want to do it all the way stupid. You know what I mean? So I can't go into debt and just stay in debt because I'll just like, oh, well, I have a credit card for this. I can get this. I'll just go crazy stupid,
Yes.
And in order to get, sever that is like, don't do it at all.
Yep.
Don't do it. Just
cold turkey.
Like for me, like smoking, you know what I mean? I used to smoke a long time ago. And, I would do that stupid, and I was just like, the only way to get rid of it is to don't do it anymore.
Exactly. But okay, so you say that, and you're absolutely right. It is as simple as stop it. But not everybody can just stop. You know what I mean? It's almost like you have a switch in your, like you in particular, Jesus, have a switch that you just decide one day. You're like, you know what? I'm flipping this switch, and that's it. And I mean, that kind of willpower is incredible. You know what I mean? Like, have you always had that kind of drive? Once you make up your mind, that's it.
Yeah, it's not easy either. Like some people may think that it's easy, but it's not, because like for smoking, like cigarettes, I would say, all right, I'm going to stop, and I will go again, stop and go again, and then it's like something happens like to where it's like, dude, for real, stop. You know what I mean? And that's when I stop.
Yes.
Like for me, like one of my things is like eating sweets. I can't stop that. I wish I could, you know what I mean? But
I mean, let's be real. You got to live, right? And sweets are a part of living, in moderation, in my opinion. But I'm with you there. I get it.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just, I don't know. When it's like levels of my life. Like when I got married, totally new level because I'm living with another person and I have to change my character. You know what I mean? Little steps by little steps, because when I first got married, it was crazy the first 1-2 years, because I found out a lot about myself that I don't think I'd ever have known it if I hadn't have gotten married, And then I had 2 kids. I had my first kid, and that's like another level of maturity that I had to overcome. So I guess it's like the more mature I get, and the more wisdom that I get from like teachers and reading and stuff like that, it helps me to grow as a person.
Definitely. Well, and I think that's an important point you're bringing up, is that, we really don't truly know, ourselves entirely until we are in positions of whatever, a committed relationship or, as a parent, you know what I mean? And some people will choose to never know that side of themselves as a parent, and that's okay, or a committed relationship. But you have done both, and like you said, you have evolved in a really amazing way. And with your driving trucks, and then of course with all of the things you have going on, because you have so many pans in the fire. I mean, your wife is amazing, you know what I mean? Because she's really just kind of, letting you, not letting like as though she has a leash, but you know what I mean? Like she's being supportive of you doing these things. And that to me is so critical to be a successful entrepreneur, which you really are.
Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, and I didn't really know it was like entrepreneurship until I actually look up the definition of entrepreneurship.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, oh, okay, I guess I am. I'm doing all these things.
100%. Yeah, but also you have that drive to be helpful to others, which I think is really amazing, because it's people like you that are, helping people like me learn from what I like to refer to as YouTube University. You know what I mean?
Oh, cool.
I mean, the fact that you're providing computer programming knowledge, for like a donation or something on YouTube is amazing. I mean, people, have to drop big bucks to go, attend university or courses or whatever, and you're willing to just share your knowledge. I think that that's amazing. Not to mention the fact that you're willing to provide a platform through the Corpus Christi Originals podcast to showcase people. I mean, there's people that you brought on that I've never heard of, and I'm like, who is this person? This is amazing. And that's the whole point, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, just have people in the city, like, I mean, from anybody that's could be like a homeless person to somebody that's a CEO, like, and just anybody, anybody that wants to come on, talk, share your story. Everybody has a story, and and stories are one way to teach other people.
100%.
And it's like, I feel like that teaching is ingrained in what I'm doing, like in my podcast, because there's people's stories. I only have my story, and so if you can bring more people to have stories, then people, some people will listen, some people won't.
Yes, but the info is there, for anybody who wants to seek it out. So I want to go back a little bit, because you said you wanted to, a career change, and so opted for software development. That is in my mind, a complicated route to go. So why, of all things, did you pick that? I mean, obviously you're good at it, but like, what was it that made you think, you know what, I'm doing this now?
The first thing was engineering. And then it turned into software engineering. And a lot of the advice was like, you really don't need a degree I mean, you do, but you don't, you know what I mean? And for engineering, you did need a degree for a lot of the jobs that were available.
Yes.
And it seemed like software engineering and computers it's here to stay, and there's a lot of jobs. So that's one of the reasons why I picked it. And I was just like, all right, let me pick this. So I just picked it. And then, I mean, I like it. I found out that I'm good at it because I like solving puzzles.
Okay.
And that's one of the things that software development is. You can read the book and understand how to program it, but when you're faced with a problem, you have to figure it out,
Yes. But not only do you have to figure it out, you have to figure it out in like a different language, in like computer language.
Yeah. Yeah. I showed it to my mom, and when I was first started, it was a while back. I showed it to her. She's like, "What is that? I can't even see that. It's making my brain hurt." I don't know. It's just like another language. Like, you just learn another language. But the cool thing about that language is you don't. It's not oral. Like, you can't hear it to where it's differently. You know what I mean? It's solely written on paper or on the screen.
Yes.
So that kind of makes it a little easier, I guess, compared to like an actual oral language,
I mean, to me, your mind is incredible, because music is another language, completely different.
Yeah.
And computer language, I mean, you know what I'm saying? But you're like, no, for whatever reason, your brain is just gets it.
Yeah. I mean, my brain gets it, and I'm really not. And it's cool that you bring that up. I'm really not a social person. I like to be social, but sometimes I don't get social situations. You know what I mean? I'm just weird socially. So
I can also be weird socially. I get that.
Yeah. So a lot of my time, I'd rather spend it learning stuff. I don't know, just to do it because I'm comfortable in that area, and it's weird too, because when I go out to talk to people, I try to talk to them the way my mind is going, and they're kind of like, huh? So that's kind of funny to me,
No, but I think that's such a cool quality. You know what I mean? Like, you are who you are, period. Like, you're such a unique individual. But it's also interesting to me that you say you're not necessarily social, because you talk to people on your podcast. You know what I mean? Like, it's such a funny little, like, unexpected twist, I feel.
Yeah, it is definitely. I get to prepare for like interviews a little bit too, so that kind of helps. And
I mean, I like to be social, but sometimes it's just like I need some space. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So yeah, there's definitely a difference between that for sure. But yeah, man, it's been a long journey for me. Like reading music, that's another beast in itself. And I started actually playing music. Here's like some of my backstory. I can
Yes.
So,
tell me everything. This is so interesting.
Okay, so I started playing music. Like 13 years old. If you remember AOL.com,
of course,
go to the Messenger.
Yes.
So I found.
I'm pretty sure you and I are like a similar, like the same age-ish. So anything you bring up from the past, I'll definitely know.
Cool. Yeah. So the AOL, they had a message board for Corpus Christi, right? And I went to look for people that played in Corpus Christi because I played guitar, right? I found band members that way. Man. I started playing guitar. My stepmom actually got me because my stepmom helped my dad raise me when I was younger. She got me a guitar. I came home one day. She's like, look what I got you. I was like, oh, for real? Damn, I've been wanting one, you know? So I started learning Metallica, Pantera, Deftones, heavy stuff like that. And then, I got into several bands. Wicked Red, if anybody knows Wicked Red. Nihilism was the first one. That's a funny name, Nihilism. So started learning music. And then played shows. So
wow.
Yeah. That helped me out a lot too, because when you play shows, you have a lot of nerves. You know what I mean, and you learn how to handle those nerves because there's no way they come every time.
Yes, it takes guts to go on stage and perform in front of people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and when you play your own music too, you're proud of it too, because you're like, here, look, we made this. So I hope you like it. You know, it's some people receive it, some people don't.
Mm-hmm.
Man, this was in high school. I dropped out of high school for stupid reasons, just cause I don't know, I was lazy. I couldn't really remember. I smoked a lot of weed, would party a lot. I was still in the band. I was like, well, the band's gonna get us to go somewhere, so I'm just gonna drop out, whatever, you know, stupid decisions. And then got kicked out of the band for I don't even remember. And then I was like, well, shoot, I got to go back to school. I got to finish school and do something with my life. So I went back to school, and my wife, which I met her in high school, she was one of the ones that helped me actually go back to school. So that helped me go back. And when I started my last senior year at in high school at Miller, I started learning classical guitar. I went to the library that had classical guitar. So, and even in high school, I would always keep to myself. So at Miller, during lunchtime, I go to the library, look at that book, read it. And then, so that's when I started learning classical guitar.
And so this is when, so you re-enrolled because you dropped out for a little bit and then you re-enrolled?
Yeah, I re-enrolled. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I had to get a transfer to go over there because I was living near Carroll, actually.
Okay.
So transferred over there. And then finished there.
See, I feel like things always work out. I mean, you know what I mean? Like you made a choice, and yet your life still looped you back. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah. Your choices definitely. I think choices definitely have an impact on your future.
Mm-hmm.
If I hadn't done that, you know what I mean? It's kind of like, where would you be? You know what I mean?
Yes, but and I completely respect that, and I know we've all had that thought. You know, what if I hadn't have gone down this route or whatever? And yet, I see what you're doing, and I'm like, I just feel like everything lined up as it did. I mean, challenges, you know, that were in your past, and maybe really great things that happened in your past, all paved the way for you to be doing what you're doing now, which is a lot. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I am very impressed by you. So I just want you to know, from like an outsider's perspective, like you're killing it.
Yeah, appreciate that. Yeah, so I got to college after that. I picked music as my degree. I didn't know what to pick. Somebody was my folks, my mom, my real mom. This is kind of crazy, man. I went to go live with my real mom as a late teenager. So my stepmom kind of felt bad about it, I think, for a long time, and I apologized after a while for that. Anyway, my real mom was like, yeah, you should go for something that you love or whatever. So I went for music, got a bachelor's in music. I got an associate's for music at Del Mar, and then a bachelor's at TAMU CC.
Look at that. That is amazing. And I honestly feel like that's great advice for a student. Like, you know, do what you love, you know, and you did.
Yeah, did that. I tried teaching after I graduated college And I was like, well, shoot, I can't really do nothing with my degree. I wanted to get a master's and a doctorate, you know. So I had to start working to provide for myself. So I started truck driving because I looked in the newspaper. I was like, okay, who's hiring? What's hiring? And all the stuff in there, driver, hire for driver, hire for driver, hire for driver. I was like, shoot, if I want to make money, I got to go be a driver, you know?
Yeah.
So I did that for a few years, and I was like, man, I hate this. And then I tried teaching.
Yeah, to me, truck driving is a challenging job.
Yeah.
I mean, wow.
Yeah, it's challenging. Yeah, you have to deal with like drivers and stuff like that. But I mean, I got to get over that. I have to get over that because it'll mess with my psyche. You know what I mean?
For sure.
Like, all right.
For sure.
You know, just let them drive. My truck only goes 65 miles per hour anyway, the big truck. And then it weighs like 80,000 pounds when I'm loaded.
Oh my
gosh. And some people just cut in front of you. I'm like, all right. Go, you know what I mean? They don't understand what's going on.
No, they don't. Oh my gosh, that's so frustrating to me. But you're right. You, as a truck driver, really do have to be very zen, because otherwise, like you said, you'll just be miserable.
Yeah, and there's some truck drivers that are not like that. They'll flick you the finger, they'll cuss at you, whatever. And some of them don't even have like a governor on their truck, so they can go like 90 miles per hour, and they're just like, screw it, let me go past these people. But yeah, it's not all drivers are like that.
Well, I'm glad you are.
Yeah. So I got past truck driving, and then after the 2 years, I was like, I hate it. I need to do something else. So I tried teaching. I went through some program in Austin or something where I can get a teaching certification to teach music in the state of Texas, which I went through like the preliminary stages for like 8 months or something like that. And then after that, it just wasn't for me. So I went back to driving. So, I mean, I love the kids. I love teaching the kids, but it's just the environment I think this is just my opinion, like in Texas or any public school is like, what I think about music and how it's impactful to people, the school system or whoever doesn't necessarily think the same way. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like they just put kids in music. Okay. Yeah. They go to the next level. It's almost like if you have private lessons with students, that's more better because they actually want to be there to learn the stuff.
Yes.
You know, so
I see what you're saying.
That's just my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting, and I believe it. I do feel like there's room for improvement in the school system, definitely. Yeah,
I mean, there's people that work there, and God bless the people that are there. You know
yes,
what I mean?
Definitely.
The ladies and the majority of them are ladies, which is awesome. Mm-hmm. Guys, Lee, you guys have so. And I just want to bring this up. I love your podcast. Thank you. I love what you're, talking to ladies or women, and my dad thankfully had taught me the value of women and mm-hmm. ladies and how to treat them and stuff like that. Yes. And so when I see that and I notice it, like especially the ladies that work in the school system, yes, like, dude, you guys put up with a lot, Yep. And hats off to them, just to do that. So I did teaching, went back to driving for a little bit. I used to play, and then I didn't play music at all during that time. I started going to a Pentecostal church or non-denominational church, so I started playing music there. Wow! Yeah, it's called Solid Rock. I believe a lot of people know that church. Yes. So so I played bass guitar there. I played acoustic guitar there. So there I was able to continue to play music because after all, I still have a love for that, Well, that's what I was going to say. So that little bit of time that you weren't playing, were you missing it? Were you like, man, I need to make time for this. Like, I really want to incorporate this back into my life. Yeah, no, well, I still kind of had it in my life because I read music and I had sheet music books and I can play the guitar and read at the same time. So that was helping me to continue to play, you know what I mean? But at this point, I just have a piano in the house which just sits there. Wow. But it's there. Yeah, that's the beauty of it. It is there. It's there. Yeah, it's there. And I don't know, just life is just crazy. I got married. I got my wife. I got the brand. I got a bunch of other stuff, which is okay. I mean, I'm not like really sad that it's gone, which it was a huge part of my life, and it still is. I still listen to music, I still enjoy it and stuff like that. I just don't play it, Mm-hmm. I have other stuff that I'm working on that is still as impactful, I believe, Of course, but you'll have that knowledge forever. Like you are literally, I mean, you have your bachelor's
in it. You know what I mean? Like, you're a professional, you know what I'm saying? So like and what's cool about you is you could, anywhere that there's an instrument that you're familiar with, you can play. You can provide music, you can provide entertainment, you know, whatever. I am so, I don't like to say envious, but I guess it's true. I'm so envious of people that can just pick up a guitar and start playing. Like, what an amazing skill to have. It's so cool.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I mean, you don't have to be envious. Just, I mean, I don't know.
I'm working on it, Jesus. I'm working on it. I'm really happy for you. I just want to be able to do it too.
Okay. Yeah. So what happened there? So I would play at the church for a little bit, and then when I was at the church, I actually, believe it or not, started reading the Bible.
Hey, I mean, I think that's great. I think that's wonderful that you familiarized yourself with it, you know?
Yeah, and like for me, like I still read Proverbs a lot, which is a huge book of Jewish wisdom that I still think applies today. Mm-hmm. And a lot of my wisdom comes from there.
Yes.
It's just like, the reason I bring that up is because I was going to this church, or even several churches, and I would see the way they would act and react toward other people. And it's like, dude, this is not what's in the Bible. Why are we doing this?
Exactly. Oh my God. You are like making me so happy right now, because I feel like this isn't discussed enough. It's weird. Especially
it's weird.
Especially because, right, like, you know, these people are claiming to try to be as Jesus-like as possible, and it's like, that is nothing like Jesus, exactly. You know?
Yeah, and when people like me leave for that reason, they don't care. They're just like, okay, go. We didn't want you here anyway.
Really?
You know what I mean? I mean, that's just my thought. I don't know. That's one of my flaws too. Like, I think the worst scenario first before I start thinking the good scenarios. That's just one of my flaws I'm trying to work on. But I mean,
that's just like survival. I mean, you know, I think that's very typical of a lot of humans. It's like a survival instinct. So don't be hard on yourself. You know, I don't think it's a flaw, because it's always like your knee-jerk reaction is what it is, right? But then what do you do next? And it sounds to me like, you know, then you kind of try to put it into perspective or whatever. And I mean, that's great.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think of it like that. Cool. Yeah, so and then after I had left, you know, the church and stuff or whatever, I don't go to church now. I mean, I still read the Bible and stuff. I just don't go to church because of those reasons. I've tried several churches, and it's just like, I'm done. You know, I'm done with it, and I'm okay with it. I mean, I still show my family the way I think is the right way to go, which, you know, my wife she helps me in that too. So after I stopped playing there, I stopped playing altogether, really. And it's kind of funny because we were getting out of debt, my wife and I. We don't have any consumer debt. All we do, we just owe our mortgage.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
Wow, you are in the top. You know, there's a very small percentage of people that can say that. That's amazing.
So the reason why I bring that up is because I sold all my instruments to get out of debt.
Wow. Hey, but honestly though, that was a means to an end. And that says a lot about you, because truthfully, in the world that we're living in now, not owing anybody anything is like amazing, because everything is ridiculous, you know? So you'll get those back. I think you'll get instruments back later.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it was definitely a mindset change, and we just agreed to do it, my wife and I, because we were in a spot like, okay, we can't keep doing what we're doing because it's not, we don't see it progressing in that sense. And so we just agreed, all right, we're going to get rid of it. And it was embarrassing for me because I had to, she knew I had student loans, but she didn't know how much it was. So I had to man up and be like, look, this is how much I got, and this is part of our stuff. So of course she was like, oh, she was furious at first, but she stuck with it, and I was like, damn.
Hey, and that's awesome, you know? Love, man. That's love for the, you know, and for y'all to be willing to be vulnerable and forthcoming with information that may not be the prettiest, and still, you know what I mean, and like just work it out. Like, that's legit.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Yeah, so got out of debt, and we have our mortgage right now, which, man, 2.5 years we'll have it paid off.
Okay, and you're so young. Like, think about that. That's the dream to me. That is the dream, because anything you make is now going into your pocket. I mean, you're going to have to pay property taxes at the end of the year or whatever. I mean, bills. Yeah. But other than that, I mean, that's yours.
Yeah, it's ours. And then I get to a point where I start thinking about legacy. Like, past myself and my wife's self because we had 2 kids.
Yes.
And it's like, what's going to be in the future for them? How can we set them up with financial principles so that they can continue the legacy that we began, you know? Even though it's small, like we have a small house, it's not really something big, you know, which is fine with us.
Exactly.
I mean,
nothing excessive. It's perfect for y'all.
Yeah, it's maintainable, you know, it's all good.
Oh my God, exactly. I mean, that's like us, right? When we bought this house in 2015, so things were much different. But even still, Dale and I were not in a position to buy anything excessive at all. He was still working part-time, and I was working like, you know, for the city, but not where I am now. So, you know, they pre-approve you for something way outside your budget. I mean, people will still opt to do it sometimes, and it's usually to their detriment. But we decided, like, we are going to be very careful about this. Nothing too big. I mean, just right, you know, for a little bit of growth. And thank God, because nowadays, like I said, it's another world right now. So I respect y'all, the way y'all approach that.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I appreciate that. And so when we did that, when I got out of debt, we had a lot of extra money. So we put to retirement. We of course, we give our 10%. And in whichever way we think is right. And then we have some that goes to kids' college, and I have extra money to work on the brand.
Yes.
So I was like, at that point I was just like, okay, how can I start making some more? How can I make little small streams of income? You know, I had the YouTube channel, which brings some income. I was like, okay, and started researching how can I make small streams of income. So I came upon the brand, or a brand, and that's how I started the brand that I'm doing now, Corpus Christi Originals. So I have some of that money left over to put to the brand, and hopefully it'll generate more income. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So that's how I got into that, and that's how it started. And I was thinking of different brand ideas, like which kind of brand idea would work. And then I was listening to YouTube University, and I was just like, okay, there's several guys that are doing the same thing. And one guy was mentioning, like, well, how can you build a big brand for, like, the whole United States? Just start small. Start with your city.
Yes.
I was like, okay, so in our city, there are brands, and I've looked them up, like Made in Corpus Christi, Crooked Christi, and those are the ones I could think of. I think Fresco has shirts or whatever. And I was like, well, let me just try to create one for the city that we kind of don't have, like, with the skulls and the stuff like that that I like, you know?
Yes.
So and I was like, okay, let me try this out. So I tried it out, and as soon as I started it, we started in October.
Of 2021?
Last year, yeah.
Whoa. Okay,
Yeah.
what is that? 8 months?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's some people may think that we're generating a lot of revenue, but it's a little bit of stream of income, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is okay. But from my perspective, I was like, how can I do a successful brand? And I kind of think it's starting to be successful.
Yes, it is.
So I was like, cool, you know, I got this going. And then the podcast came along because I wanted to generate more content for the brand. And then when I did that, I was like, oh shoot, this is totally different, you know? It's like a teaching mechanism, a teaching tool. And there I go, start thinking about teaching.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And so I'm like, shoot, I want to do more of this then, you know, if it's like that. And so that's where I started doing the podcast and adding it to the, the pages that I have and stuff. So, yeah, that's a lot of stuff. I'm sorry.
No, I mean, this is why I do this. You know, I love hearing about the different twists and turns in people's lives that got them to where they are. And like how many different things you've been involved in and the experiences you've had all throughout your life. And you're still so young, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's still so much more life to live. And so the fact that you just decided, like, you know what, I'm going to start a brand, which is something that people say they're going to do all the time, but not very many people actually start the brand, but you did.
Right.
And so how did you come up with the name Corpus Christi Originals? Because I just love it so much. Not to mention your designs are really great, so I want to talk about those too next. But name first. How did that come up?
Okay, so the name is actually, I kind of stole it from somebody.
Oh my God.
So the guy that I listen to on YouTube, his name is Big Brando, and he's like a guru for creating shirts and how to market and stuff like that. Well, the name of his brand was Gardena Originals.
Okay.
Gardena is a small city, I guess, south of LA or something like that.
Okay.
So And so I was started thinking like, okay, made in Corpus Christi or Corpus made or something like that. And I was like, well, let me just use the originals like Big Brando does, Corpus Christi Originals.
Yes.
And that's where I came up with the name.
I love it. The designs are something that I just adore. I mean, you have, I don't know, they're just so fun. And my husband can be particular about clothing. And he loves your brand. He loves the design. Like, he loves the fit. So, like, what was the process to confirming, what it was you wanted? Like, the kinds of shirts and the kinds of designs. Like, how did you, come up with all that?
Yeah, so the designs, at first I was approaching it like, oh, what would everybody want? And then I was like, you know what, screw that. What do I like?
Yes.
So and I figured, okay, what do I like? And if people like it, then they're like me. They like what I like.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Not everybody has to like the brand, which is fine with me. Which is cool, because not every brand is for everybody.
Yes, I get that.
So that's where I came up with the types of designs to put on there. So it's kind of like the stuff that I like. And then when I started going on that route, I was like, okay, a lot of Hispanic people would like that stuff because that's the type of stuff that I like. And I figured it would gravitate toward that type of audience, you know what I mean? And then once I had the designs, I was like, okay, what type of shirts should I put them on? And there's a bunch of different ones. I was like, well, I want the best quality shirt.
Right.
And then I started doing some research. I was like, well, best quality doesn't mean the same to every person.
For sure.
So, and me as a big guy, I wear like 3X. I used to wear 2X, now I wear 3X.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, as a big guy, what kind of shirts do I like? So that's when I decided to get those types of shirts, where this part right here doesn't like stretch down,
exactly.
you know what I mean, for guys like me.
Yes. Well, and then that's Dale. Dale's like a broad guy. And so he's also a 3X, and oftentimes the shirts will bell out. Like, they'll do this weird kind of, I don't know, they get bigger. They almost look like a tent. And he's like, it drives me crazy. But, Jesus's shirts fit him perfect. Like, that is what he tells me, So, like, you did an excellent job with that. And I think a lot of people don't realize how much work and research. I mean, because I guess anybody could put out a shirt, right, without putting much thought into it. But you really put thought into it and the fit and everything.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm still trying to take some data, you know what I mean? What do because the smaller people don't like shirts that are as heavy like the bigger people. So I'm like, okay, how can I accommodate to both the smalls through extra larges to the 2Xs to the 4Xs? How do I do that?
Yes.
So I'm constantly asking, hey, how does it fit? How do you like to fit? You know what I mean? Just because it's still evolving, the brand. That's what I feel like,
Definitely.
Yeah, so that's how I came up with that, with the shirts. And, and as far as coming out with more and more, because people are like, I want more designs. When are you going to do a new design? It's difficult because there's money involved.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
You're only one person.
There's one person. There's inventory. It's like, how do I handle this? How do I keep this stocked up, or how do I stock it up? You know what I mean? So that's how I started doing that. And then, of course, I'm thinking of ways to save money. How do I save money to be able to make more of a profit?
Of course, yes.
Because the customer pays for shipping costs. I got to pay for packaging and, stuff like that. I got a wholesale license, so that way I can buy the shirts wholesale.
Nice.
Yeah. And it's actually free to get a wholesale. I think it's a resale permit or something through the Texas comptroller. You just tell them your business name and they'll get you a reseller permit. So that way, when you buy wholesale, you don't pay taxes.
Wow.
And then, so you don't pay taxes, but the customer pays the taxes because the taxes has to somehow to be paid. So that's how I charge the taxes on it to the customer,
Okay.
Yeah, so that's how that works. And it's just been a big process, a lot of researching, it's not just like that for me. It was a lot of months in the making, like, how do I do this? How do I do that? And I'm still figuring out stuff, personally. And at the end of the day, it's for the person that you're making it for.
Yes.
They're going to decide whether they like the design or not, whether, it shows through the sales, which one does the person buy? That's the one that everybody likes. You know what I mean? If there's a lot of sales in that area, then that's the one that people buy.
What's been a bestseller for you of all the designs?
The Texas one, the one with the Texas and the Corpitos with the skull where the guy's hat is like this.
Yes.
That's the most recent one. That one's been selling a lot. When I first sold the hoodies, the black hoodie with just the logo on the front, that one sold a lot. People buy the handkerchiefs, they buy the stickers. I mean, they buy pretty much all the stuff. It's funny, I got a sell the other day from some guy like in North Carolina. He bought like a whole bunch of stuff.
Really?
I sold out of state at least two handfuls of times. New York, North Carolina, Florida, over here on the
wow.
People from Corpus, and when I can't stress it enough, and I'm so thankful that there's so many people that want to represent the city.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
I remember I was like that too, because I lived in Oklahoma for a stint for a little bit. And when I was there, I was like, people would ask me where I'm from, like from Corpus. They're like, well, where's that at? You know what I mean? And people would ask me, I'm like, dude, Corpus Christi. Hello, you know what I mean? Like, get it, I'm from Corpus, you know? and you can't explain it. It's like, we live by the beach, it's by the coast, you know what I mean? Not a lot of us speak Spanish. We speak like Texas Spanish.
Yeah,
you know?
Tex-Mex.
You know? So even at that, I was just like, Corpus, I'm from Corpus, you know, and the same thing. So I get it now. It's like, oh, cool, you know? And I didn't know how the brand would turn out, you know, and just to see the response that I've gotten is cool.
Yes, I see people. I mean, there are constantly people tagging you, rocking the merch. I mean, it's amazing. Like, you have quite a loyal fan base, I feel. They're constantly promoting it.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. And I really like that. I try not to, and when people tag me, I like to re-tag them back just to show people, like, look, people in the city or that are from the city are actually repping, you know? Because if I just put like models and stuff like that, it becomes kind of too advertising, you know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah. And so that's why when I first started, I was trying to stray away from that. I didn't want that to be part of the brand. I wanted it to be real. Like, these are actual people that are supporting the brand. Yes,
and authentic.
So I haven't really put money into that type of marketing, like social marketing, like Facebook. So it's all like, I want it to be organic. Like Dale was telling me in the podcast the last time, like organic. That's how I want it to be.
Yeah, engagement. Organic engagement. Well, I mean, and you definitely have it, because I'm like, man, there is always somebody, you know, that you're like, you know, shout out to so-and-so for rocking whatever. And I mean, it's amazing that I'm like, yes, like, you are getting the shine that you deserve, because your brand is, it just, I don't know what it is. It makes me feel some kind of way, in a good way. Again, I'm just inspired by it, but I just love that. It's just a really neat way to rep Corpus. And Dale gets compliments on the shirts all the time, and because he works with people in Austin, and so anytime they'll have like a meeting like this, like a virtual meeting, he's always wearing some sort of Corpus shirt, and oftentimes it's a Corpus Christi Originals shirt, and he always gets compliments on it. Like, it's just, I guess it's a feeling of pride, I think, that I get indirectly through your brand. It's just the funniest thing.
That's cool, yeah. And I was telling Dan, I was like, I want to know what people are saying or what they think about it, you know. And it's what you're telling me now. It helps me to understand your perspective, or, you know, somebody else's perspective if they tell me, you know.
For sure.
And shout out to those who do rep and tag us. We appreciate that a lot. I appreciate that a lot. It helps the brand awareness. So that's definitely shout out to those people that do that, you know.
Yes.
And so that's that there.
Yeah, well, and also the website is amazing. So, by the way, anybody who's listening to this, if you're not following at Corpus Christi Originals on Instagram, please do. There's a link to the website in the bio, and it is a very well put together website, and it's very user friendly. And so I mean, did you build this website?
Did not.
Really?
Nope.
Okay, it's beautiful.
And for anybody that wants to sell online, I highly recommend Shopify.
Okay.
I'm not sponsored by them. I use Shopify for my store. It's cool because they have these pre-made designs for your website. The one that you see on CorpusChristiOriginals.com, it's pre-made by Shopify. Just a click, and it's live.
It's awesome.
And the cool thing about Shopify is they integrate your Instagram, your Facebook, your TikTok, and Pinterest.
Okay. Are you on all of those platforms?
I'm on all but the Pinterest. I'm not on Pinterest.
Okay.
So if you go to my Instagram, you can view our shop on Instagram.
Yes.
And that's directly linked to Shopify.
Yes.
So all the prices on. So if I change a price on Shopify, it automatically changes on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok.
Okay.
If I change the quantity is auto adjustable.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. So if somebody buys online, it automatically adjusts it on all platforms.
Okay.
So that way your inventory can be kept taken track of, so yeah, Shopify, that's how I use that. And you can actually buy websites from people that make them for Shopify, but that one's already like pre-made. It's like a
template,
like a factory one.
Okay. Hey, either way, I'm digging it. I mean, like I said, it's very well put together and user friendly, which is so important to me as a consumer. Just putting it out there. I mean, it's just easy to navigate and it's also fun to look at. But I also just feel like the imagery of your designs is just naturally appealing, So again, anybody, if you're interested, please go look at CorpusChristiOriginals.com and of course, follow at Corpus Christi Originals on Instagram. So okay, the podcast. So you had said. By the way, this is the Corpus Christi Originals podcast. You had said the reason that you started the podcast is because you wanted to create more content for the brand. But why in particular podcasting? Because I feel like podcasting is it's an energy investment, I feel, because you're always having to interact with somebody that maybe you don't know really well, not to mention the fact that you're kind of guiding them through a conversation. It's work. And so why podcasting?
Oh man, there's a lot. Okay, so for content on Instagram, for content in general, Instagram is a lot of pictures. So I wanted to have like Instagram, and I want to integrate like audio and video. So or audio, like so whenever I post like a clip, there's an audio and there's a visual. You can listen to it, you can hear it.
Yes.
So that's why I wanted to create content in that sense.
And also to interject real quick, I love that you do the live interviews with the video, and then so that's posted on YouTube. So if anybody wants to see the video or the interview as it was conducted, an actual video of the interview, go to YouTube for the Corpus Christi Originals page. And then, of course, your podcast is on all podcast streaming platforms if people just want to hear the audio. I love that. I love that there's like the option for both. I never delved into video just because it intimidated me. So I think it's really cool that you do that.
Thank you. Yeah. So I do that because it records it for me. It records it for me and I can download the recording and then edit it and then put it out as the audio version. Mm-hmm. That's one reason why I do that. The other reason is that I get to see the person. I'm trying to think. Yeah, so that's why I put it on all platforms. But when I did that, I was like, oh, do I really want to do this? Because it takes a lot of work.
It is.
You got to make the thumbnails for each platform, and it's just a lot. I was like, well, you know what? I'm just going to do this. And
yes, you go all out. You make little graphics and you do little sound bites from the interviews when you make the post. I mean, you are, like you said, if you're going to do something, you're going to do it all the way. You definitely do.
Yeah. So I did. I started to do that. Man, I'm trying to think. That's why I had started the content to put the content on there, and then I wanted to do the audio. So I used StreamYard, which is I wanted to use StreamYard because I didn't want people to have to like download something. They could just click on the link and it'll take them to it automatically.
Yes.
So I did it that way, and then I put it on YouTube and Facebook for those people who like to watch it. You know what I mean? And then I'm thinking about customers, because customers are different. They're visual, they're oral. They learn certain ways, and that's one of the components that went into actually starting it. And then podcasting, like I had been in front of the microphone and the camera when I started my guitar videos, and then eventually the software videos. So I was kind of comfortable with it. And then I had started a podcast on, under my name, which I kind of liked it, but then, so I kind of had that experience. And that's why I was like, let me do podcasting for this. For this avenue of the brand, and people talk, you know what I mean? Like I said, we learn stories that way too. So that was another reason into it. It's just a whole bunch of reasons like into one,
For sure.
Yeah. So that's why I had started doing that. And there's people, and I love the people that share our podcasts all the time.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like on Instagram, hey, there's a new episode out. those people are awesome. Just shout out to
Yes,
them.
for sure. I mean, yours is one that we want to keep up with. Like, it's so interesting. Were you nervous for your first episode? Like, did it go really smoothly, or were you just kind of like, oh my God, like, just make it through?
Yeah, there was nerves at first, of course. And the first one was Hobby Luna. So I was wanting to make sure that I had notes correct, and I had the format, not the format, but I was nervous because I wasn't sure if I was prepared enough.
Yes.
To do interviews, because I had never done interviews before, and it's like, how does this happen? I had to research a lot. How do I do interviews or whatever? So that was the main thing. Like, I want to make sure that I'm prepared for it, you know. And the more that I do them, it's like it's getting a little bit more comfortable with getting prepared, you know.
Yes, I loved my episode with you. You brought up things that not very many people knew, and I thought that was really cool, because that really does make your guest feel, okay, this is fun. This person's genuinely interested. It's not just a reason for them to. I don't know. It was just great. Like, you're doing a fantastic job. I'm such a huge fan of the podcast.
Man, I appreciate that coming from you, Brittany. Man, your podcast is just friggin' awesome. You've already got like 100 plus episode. Was it like 150 plus?
Yeah, I'm at. I think I just recorded 169. That's going out tomorrow.
Yeah, hell yeah, man. And I even go when I go to Spotify. I'm like, okay, does she got a new one up, so that way I can listen, because I drive. I'm a driver, and I listen to podcasts, and I listen to yours, BS and Booze.
They're hilarious.
Yeah, those guys they got their own content going, and then yeah, that means a lot coming from you. That's awesome. I appreciate that.
Yeah, no, you're doing amazing. I'm just like amazed by you. Like, the more I get to know about you, I'm like, the world needs to know about you. I don't know if you want people to follow your personal page, or do you prefer people to just stick with the Corpus Christi Originals? But I feel like your personal page also has the link to your software development, like YouTube stuff, which I think is really cool.
Yeah, like, I just kind of leave it up to people if they want to follow me. You know what I mean? Sometimes there may be content that people don't like, because sometimes I put scriptures like Bible verses.
Right.
And some people don't like that. But I kind of, that was when I was like real churchy, you know what I mean? Like, when I was just kind of one of the church people, and it's just like, I want to do it like if I feel like I need to do it.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
It's on your own terms.
Yes, exactly. So, I mean, if you want to follow, that's cool with me. You see more of my personal kind of funny stuff on my Instagram page. Yeah. You can even use my Facebook page also, my personal Facebook page. It's the same thing. I just put funny content. I like funny stuff.
Yes.
Funny memes, funny videos, and I'll post that. And I'm constantly thinking of stuff to put on there, like my personal podcast or even this my podcast, and just even videos of me doing the brand on there, because I want it to be like a historical, because I started thinking about my kids. I want it to be like a historical thing that my kids can look at. Hey, this is what Dad used to do. You know what I mean? So I'm definitely thinking about that for my personal stuff.
For sure.
I also started doing reaction videos on music videos from my YouTube.
Are you serious?
Yes, my wife gave me a whole list. She's like,
this is great.
She gave me a whole bunch of country songs. Man, I did Thunder Rolls by Garth Brooks, Reba McEntire, He Wants to Get Married, and then she gave me John Michael Montgomery, and then Tillis, Pam Spilled Something or Other.
That sounds so fun.
Yeah, because like I'm saying, I want to generate more, because I have like 4,300 followers on YouTube.
Wow.
So yes, and I have some income, not a lot, but some income that comes from there, and Google ads that I put on my website.
Yes.
So I'm just like, okay, how can I start putting more content on there to help generate a little bit more revenue, which is cool. So I started doing reaction videos, because I like reaction videos and my wife likes them. And then now I started.
My parents like them. My parents love reaction videos.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
I know. That's why I'm like, this is the move. Like, I think it's amazing you're doing this.
Yeah, so you got to if you have any songs you think I should hear, shoot them out.
That's good. Okay, oh, I love this so much. I think you're incredible. Your podcast is amazing. You have so many interesting guests on there, and I love that you like to interview people of all walks of life. You know, different careers. Like you said, from a homeless person to a CEO, doesn't matter. Everybody has a story to tell. The merch is fantastic. I can't say this enough. For anybody who's not following, please check it out. I mean, the shirts are so just great. The hats are amazing, and like you said, now you added the what did you call them? The handkerchiefs?
Bandana.
The bandanas. So I just think you're amazing. I want to thank you so much for being here with me. I'm so sorry. I was crazy unorganized for this podcast. So thank you for bearing with me and spending some time with me on a Sunday afternoon. And I just can't wait to see what you do next.
Cool. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jesus.
All right, y'all. That was my interview with Brittany Mouttet, host of the Leading Ladies of Corpus Christi podcast. Go check her out wherever you listen to podcasts. This episode was actually taken from her podcast, so you can also listen to it on her podcast. And we also interviewed her husband, Dale Stefan. Check him out on our podcast. Dale's he's an awesome dude. Him and Brittany are awesome people in the city, and we love them over here at Corpus Christi Originals. And also, if you want to support this podcast, or even if you want to represent the city, we got some merch at corpuschristioriginals.com.